Havana moon, you got me in the strangest mood. Just me, myself, no one else would ever be so blue. No backstreet woman, no grand hotel. The only face out of place, an empty shell. I wanna be alone. I wanna be alone. Me, myself, no one else. I wanna be alone. Havana moon, nobody knows me like you do. Nowhere to turn, never learn, I can't break through. No backstreet woman, no grand hotel. The only face out of place, an empty shell. I wanna be alone. Me, myself, no one else. I wanna be alone.
We tried working in the country before, but not in the countryside, that is, years ago. And nowadays we really like to much prefer to work in cities, you know. New York, incredibly bored, Richard. So it's kind of urban music, pretty much.
Without even touching it.
You know, I met Bryan in Sherman Oaks, California, at Pat Leonard's house, working on the Betonori album. The funniest thing that happened, my experience listening to Roxy music I had no relationship. I had mentally no relationship with Bryan Ferry about Roxy music and Bryan Ferry. I didn't know they were the same, one and the same. I was talking to him, you know, during the take, after the take of one of the tracks, and I asked Bryan, I said, Bryan, do you have a record deal? And he just looked at me and went, yeah. I said, well, what label are you with? Who are you? You know, like, and Pat Leonard was sitting over in the corner going, oh, God, please, David, stop it.
I like guitars very much, so I tend to work with a lot of different guitar players, and one of the characteristics of my records, I suppose, in the last 10 years or whatever, has been the interplay of different guitar sounds and different textures that you get from that. You know.
His forte, his real gift, is this incredible ear and inventiveness for the detail work, and I think maybe with me being there and taking care of a few of the fundamental things, it released him.
The grooves that he does are exactly the same way I groove. The music, the melodies and the grooves fit my playing and my way of thinking musically perfect.
Something else for the verses and the choruses. It's like for you to say, just play something else. Yeah?
Bryan's very good at sort of creating an atmosphere in the studio, and that for players. Try and relax them and get them in the mood of the music, you know, and the whole thing.
Hello, welcome to my little room. It's very groove oriented, you know. it's real simple and straight ahead. You find a pocket and then you play that. You play within that pocket. But what I really enjoyed about doing these dates is that I really had a lot of chance to work with sounds, you know, and just mess around, like putting phasing and stuff on the drums, and just make some different sounds and play with some different sounds, you know, using mallets and stuff. And it's odd.
It's all down to feel, really. It's kind of emotional music. I like people who can create around a part, and I don't want to dictate exactly what they play at all. Don't miss your cue, Nick.
Sorry.
Say, wow, he's super.
Which bass part should I play?
We'll sit around playing cards, won't we?
Right. You gonna sing?
I think the atmosphere, there's a mood to Bryan's music that just can't really put your finger on it, but it's just it's kind of like hypnotic, and his voice is great.
You can have the greatest players come in and play all day long for years and years, but until that vocal goes on, there isn't a song there. So, you know, for me, I'm always waiting for that to happen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Brian Eno also plays on the album, and there are guest appearances from Andy Mackay and Phil Manzanera. So it's in some ways it's an element of a reunion there on some of the pieces.
You just play it on the piano. It's great.
I wanna be just everything more than you.
Sometimes it's good to record an album in one place and then go and mix it somewhere else, because the mixing process is only like 2 or 3 weeks, and it gives you a little bit of a different perspective on it, you know, and that can be quite good, because recording is so obsessive that we've kind of been locked in the studios for like 12 hours a day, 5 days a week for a very long time now.
You know, really Bryan's thing is more fascinating because it has different levels working at the same time. You know, it's not just what you hear. There's undercurrents and stuff. That's what makes it so fascinating.
I always make the analogy of painters and studios, but it's like, you know, a picture that you're not quite sure, you can put it aside, you know, and artists do this frequently, you know, work on paintings over a 5 or 6 year period, you know, and sometimes you have it almost there and you just have to leave it for a bit and come back and say, oh yes, it's totally clear what I have to do to it. And in the recording world, usually you don't get the chance to do that, such as the demand for product, you know, give us the new record.
It's the top line, textures, melodies. That's his real art. always felt that him in performance has a power about it, an emotional power, that I think that song epitomizes, I think.
When I get it right, I enjoy it, but I find you've got to go through so many hours of disappointment, of saying, oh, that isn't quite right, and the next day you come back to it, oh no, this isn't really is good enough, and it's always that. Whereas the musical thing, perhaps it's because it's more abstract, appeals to me more, because I like very much to deal with abstract moods, which is why, I guess music appeals to me.
All the atmosphere and, a lot of the textures, the mood, the whole thing, it's tied in between what he does with the keyboard and his vocal, and the vocal lines.
All the time you're trying to look for something unique, really, and so it's a process of discovery for yourself, as much as for anybody else. When you're doing like a few songs for an album, you always try to get to this point where each song has its own look, has its own picturesque quality that you try and bring out as much as you can, as well as having an overall good feel to all the tracks. In particular, you want each song to have its own sort of visual identity. I do, because I'm a very visual person. The colours and imagery of the song are very important. I had a picture in that one there, and I guess it makes it look a bit like a classical record. It also went well with these other photographs I had lying around, which were taken from a video we did, and they had very much the feel of an old movie to me. I like it when things have a haunting kind of feel about them. If the ideas, for the visuals come from me, then there's going to be some sort of integration with the music somewhere, taste-wise.
Bryan, I think, may have made his best solo album to date. I think that's what we'll be looking back and thinking about this record. Certainly got some of the best vocals I've ever heard him do on it, and probably the strongest bunch of material that he's put together on one record.
Well, I like to think that this was this is the album that people wanted to hear from me at this point. That's all I could say, really, isn't it? Because that's the album I wanted to make, and there it is.